Hello and welcome back to the DayLuna Human Design Podcast with your hosts Dana and Shayna. Today we are doing a solo episode where we are going to be breaking down all of the different returns and cycles that you can experience in life. And this is a very educational episode, like we like them. And we're breaking it
Real
all down. And
nerdy.
real nerdy. Yeah.
Real nerdy.
But also, honestly, one of the most eye-opening and supportive topics, I think. A lot of people talk about the different returns in astrology, but not many people talk about the cycles in human design, which is the different returns, but through a human design lens, and how those cycles are impacting your life based on what return you're in. So there's so much information that you can pull from human design, and kind of similarly to all of the ways that human design and astrology are integrated, the cycles are going through this astrological lens, but then they're getting more detailed and it's giving you more insight and more awareness around the specific influences that you're going to be experiencing at different times in your life, right? So we'll talk about the astrological side, we'll talk about the human design side, and we're going to share a bit about our current cycles that we're in right now and where we're headed next with our Uranus opposition and what those themes are going to be. So buckle up. I don't think you need to pull up your chart, but you should know, I guess, your age. So
if you don't know your age, go ahead and use a calculator. The older you get, honestly,
yeah,
the more you might need to go do the math.
We were just talking about this, like my husband he'll be talking about coworkers or random people and he'll be like, yeah, they're our age. And I'm like, okay, but how old are they actually? And then he'll find out and he's like, they're 25. I'm like, we're not 25, babe. Like, he's like, I know. And it happens so often where he'll be like, yeah, no, they're like, they're our age, like 25. And I'm like, did you hear the words that you just said? We are not 25. And it's so true. Like, you just forget. So if you don't know your age, look it up. Ask your mom. And I think that's the only thing you really need to know for this podcast.
Yeah, totally. And this is a podcast that is going on a deeper level. Anytime we're talking about the conditioning from a transit and the way that it changes your design, or anytime we're talking about, the people around you and you picking up their energy and how that can temporarily change your design, it's really important to know that these deeper layers are only impactful if you are already following your strategy and authority, if you already understand and are working on really honoring your natal human design chart, your consistent energy throughout your lifetime. Because that chart that you calculate from your moment of birth, this is your design no matter what throughout your entire life. You at least have this definition. This is what's consistent for you. So it's really important to be living that way and to be following that strategy and authority no matter what the transits are doing, no matter how the transits are temporarily changing your design or giving you an overlay or an illusion of other things. It's really important that you're living your own design first. And we'll talk more about what that looks like as we go through these transits, because these transits are important planetary transit moments in your life that give you a sort of imprint, right? So at the moment that you're born, you get a cosmic imprint of that energy in the night sky. All of the planets, all of the neutrino stream that's being filtered in that exact way gets imprinted into your being like a snapshot of that energy. And also you get one more of those imprints from your design date, which is approximately 3 months before you're born. So for all of us, we get these two snapshots of the cosmic energy that create our natal chart, our human design chart as we go through life. But as you continue to grow and go through the trajectory of your life, there are these other important transits where there's kind of like this snapshot that happens at that exact moment of that planetary transit. That snapshot of that energy acts like an overlay, a new design that gets kind of laid on top of your regular human design chart. And it gives you sort of the illusion of these other qualities from that moment. And those qualities show up as themes that you'll experience in your life, conditioning forces that will kind of show you new energies that you can either connect with and use your strategy and authority to see if you want to connect with them or not. But it's definitely like these eras of your life are created from these snapshots of planetary transiting moments.
Yes. So let's talk about the different returns, right? So there's your Saturn return. Well, actually, you have a solar return every single year. That's when the sun comes back into its placement um, on your birthday, right? And so that solar return, you can in astrology look up your theme for that year and get a kind of idea of what that theme's going to be. And then you have your Saturn return. You have your Uranus opposition, you have your Chiron return, you have your second Saturn return, and then you have your Uranus return. So these are the returns that we're going to be covering and diving into the different themes.
Yeah, so Saturn Return is definitely the most famous one, and for good reason. It's the first most important planetary transit that really acts as a huge catalyst in our life. So Saturn returns back to the exact moment it was, the time that you were born, for the first time from approximately age 27 to 30. And Saturn is the planet of discipline, of judgment, of restriction and structure. So, Saturn is really an energy that helps us get our shit together. It calls us out and judges us or discerns whether we are doing the right things that are setting us up for the rest of our life path or not. So, this is the first moment where the judge comes in and it says, are you actually doing what you're meant to be doing? Or are there things that are out of alignment that are going to become blatantly obvious that you need to deconstruct, get rid of to create a solid foundation for the rest of your life? And up until this first Saturn return, there's other important transits, of course, that are, there's tons of transits that help us grow, help us evolve, just these moments of time where the planets really help us kind of have this little spurt of evolution. But up until your first Saturn return from age 27 to 30, that whole time is really just about childhood, and it's about exploring and playing, and it's about trying out different things and seeing what sticks. And then your Saturn return comes in and urges you to kind of transition out of that trial and error sort of era and come more into maturity, creating structures and discipline that are going to lay a foundation for adulthood. So it's really interesting for people who are not familiar with astrology or who don't really understand astrology. I feel like 30 is such an important age for us. It's like by the time you're 30, you really want to take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, do I want to buy a house, or do I like the career I'm in, or do I want to have a kid, or do I want to get married? And I feel like the status quo feels this transit and is like 30 is an important age, and it is. And the reason is actually because Saturn is coming in, making this transit and giving you this imprint moment where you have a new energy, a new era of life with new themes based on that exact moment and the energy in the cosmos there.
Yes. So when we're talking about your cycle for your Saturn return, what your cycles show you in human design is the I like to say the chapter theme that you're going to be experiencing until your next cycle. So, no matter what, you have your main human design chart that is consistent for you. That is showing you your gifts, your purpose with your consistent cross of incarnation and profile and your strategy and authority. And if you don't know how to use your strategy and authority, then nothing else really like that you're going to learn matters
And you're
because
not
you
going to
won't
get
know
through
how
your
to
Saturn
navigate.
return.
Yeah.
You
You
better
just
know.
won't get through.
Honestly, the Saturn return is such an important time to come into alignment as well. Like you'll really see the things that are out of alignment. So that's like physically in your life, if your job is out of alignment and etc. Your partner's out of alignment, but it's also a time where you'll realize if you've been using your energy incorrectly. Like your energetics are out of alignment. You're not using your strategy and authority. So that is definitely a time where you're going to feel the call age 27 to 30 if you haven't already to really dial it in. So if you're in that era, focus on that first before you get into these cycles that we're talking about.
Yes, and it's almost like that quarter life crisis, and it can be really challenging, but you'll see at the end of it so much of your life changes for the better. Um and it can be rough, but not so rough for other people, and the way that you can really look at that in with human design is through this cycle. So understanding how to use your strategy and authority is going to help you navigate this cycle, right? So in human design, when you look up your cycle for your Saturn return, your cycles chart, it's going to show you your a profile number, it's going to show you different activations, and it's going to show you a cross of incarnation, and it's different than the one that you were born with. And this kind of shows you the conditioning theme or conditioning archetype or layer, if you want to, that's kind of um over you for that cycle until you reach your Uranus opposition. So this is kind of a long time, from 30 to approximately 43-ish. You're going to be experiencing this theme from your Saturn return cycle. So there's different ways that you can look up what cycle it is. We actually teach a besties mini course where we walk you through exactly how to look up what cycle you're in, look up the meaning, decipher it, understand what the chapter themes are for you right now. And it shows you a lot about how, like, why you're attracted to certain things, why you are thinking in a certain way or showing up in a certain way. And while this is conditioning at the end of the day, it can, having awareness of it, it can be something that is supportive for you and playful for you and empowering for you versus distracting. So if you don't have awareness of it, this conditioning theme for this chapter can really derail you, because you can be making decisions out of these conditioning forces and feeling pressure in different ways that you're not actually using your strategy and authority to be making those decisions. But once you have this awareness, it's like, okay, this is my theme. That's why I've been called here. That's why I've been interested in that. Or that's why I've been showing up in this way with my friends and family. But at the end of the day, let me touch back in with who I am underneath this and make decisions with that moving forward without being distracted. So it's so fascinating. And then when you look ahead and see, okay, my Uranus opposition theme is this, it just gives you kind of that glimpse into the future of, like, almost, I like to think of flipping through a book and you get to just look ahead to the next chapter and the next chapter and the next one
Mhm.
and see, like, oh, okay, that feels really good, or that feels exciting, or that feels interesting, right? So with your Saturn return cycle, you're going to see that the main thing that I like to focus on is your cross of incarnation for that cycle. And like I said in the mini course, which it's going to be coming out in August for all of our besties listening, you can check that out there. Um, we'll walk you through how to look up your cross there. But it's so fascinating to see the cross of incarnation. That's the major thing that I would say to look up versus getting caught up in the channels and the gate activations that aren't in your natal chart. The cross is kind of like the overarching thing to play with.
Yeah. So for my first Saturn return, that happened in March of 2019. But I'm still, of course, not dealing with, but like experiencing the imprint of those energies. My cross of incarnation was the juxtaposition cross of opinions. So instead of being a right angle cross or left angle cross, it's juxtaposition, because my profile for this moment of the Saturn return is a 4-1 profile, which is that kind of like bridge energy that is neither personal or transpersonal energy with the cross of incarnation. But the juxtaposition energy with the cross of opinions really tells me that in this era, I'm meant to be really opinionated, and I'm meant to share my opinions. I'm meant to share the insights that I have that are provoking people and guiding people to really actualize their purpose. And that having a strong energy that's really wanting to voice my opinions to provoke people towards their purpose. So seeing this, I mean, it's just so on the nose. Like literally at this time when I went through my Saturn return, this is the time where I started becoming fascinated in life purpose. This is the time when I realized, before my Saturn return, everything in my life on paper looked really good. I had a job that seemed successful on paper. I had a healthy relationship and good friendships. Like everything seemed right on paper, but it just felt hollow because I wasn't having that purposeful energy. And so my Saturn return energy comes in, gives me this imprint, and suddenly I am obsessed with talking about purpose, helping other people find their purpose, sharing my insights and research around that area. And so I'm going to be in this era with this cross of opinions all the way until my Uranus opposition.
Yes, and it's interesting because with this cross of opinions, like you're here to help shape other people's opinions and see how our thoughts shape our reality. And also part of this is like thinking that you're right and that your opinion
Which
is
I
the right
do.
one. And it's so fascinating to see that, like, okay, this is, yeah, on one side, you could say this is conditioning, right? Because I mean, it is conditioning. But on the other side, it's when you have awareness of it, this is a good example of like, am I feeling called to share this opinion just because this is, um, the theme that I'm in, and it feels fun and exciting to see how our thoughts are shaping our reality and being a thought leader in this way. And my authority is saying, this is going to make me happy 100%. Or am I just like, no, my way is the right way. And I'm so stuck in that. And I'm not even listening to, is this going to make me happy or not? Because I'm just so distracted with wanting people to understand my opinion and sharing that opinion and probably not waiting for the invitation. And you can see how this can easily go from in alignment and supportive and fun and expansive to not self and distracting and the typical conditioning that we would say that is keeping you back. Like, not all conditioning is bad, right? It's just influencing you. And if you can see that it's influencing you, but still come back to your center of who you are and have it be an expansive influence, or have it be a distracting influence that's holding you back and keeping you in your not self.
Totally. And the other thing about this Saturn return energy for me, the imprint here, is that it is the energy that makes up an emotional generator. So I would layer that over top of me being a 2-4 emotional projector. And for this era, I'm getting kind of like the illusion of this defined sacral, this defined generator energy. And so that can really sway me away from my true strategy and authority of waiting for the invitation as a projector with my own emotional authority, because it's like I have this illusion of a defined sacral during this era. So it might be like I have this energy in my body to continue sharing opinions and to just like keep going. But my true energy knows that I have to still wait for the invitation, wait for that receptivity, wait for that recognition, no matter what, because that is my consistent strategy and authority, no matter what these conditioning forces and overlays of my cycles are giving me.
Yes, so fascinating. And for me, my Saturn return cycle that I'm in right now, I have the cross of the Maya, right angle cross of the Maya, and this energy I have your chart pulled up still. I'm a 4/6. And so I with this cross of the Maya, I really entered an era of wanting to describe every single thing that is going on in my personal world and in my life. And if that is not the most true thing I've ever heard, it's so funny. And it helped me, ultimately helped me unlock my authority. And it goes really well hand in hand with my G center authority of really talking and speaking out loud. But I do think that this theme, this chapter theme, has been one that has helped me to use my authority more, like expansive and supportive in that way. Whereas, like, I'll meet other people who have G center authority and speaking is a really big block for them. And I think that this theme that I've had has is one of the reasons why that's never been a hard block for me. I'm in
Yeah.
this era of wanting to describe everything that's happening in my life. Also, um, seeing that there's never one way to approach something. There's so many different possibilities, opinions, truths, things happening. And this is once again a place in Dana and I's life where we have a polar opposite duality happening, which I think is part of the reason why we chose each other and why we are successful and are able to move through space and time in a way that is really balanced and supportive. But I'm in this time of really uh seeing science and spirituality and how nothing's real but everything is real, and all of these different sides to things, and how there's not just one right answer. And then talking about it, describing it, really being open to shifting my perspectives, and that openness, feeling like this cleanup, I want to say, like this consultation kind of energy of like cleaning up for moving forward. Like, what have we been doing? How are we moving forward? And I'm through this openness and talking about it and shifting my perspectives. It's cleaning it up for a better way forward. So that's my conditioning here. And that's my chapter theme. And it feels really resonant. But if I'm not using my strategy and authority, that's where it can then be that distracting layer and that confusing layer of, okay, I could just get lost in, what I'm observing or what I'm learning, but never actually taking any action because I'm not connected with my truth. And or I could be lost in my openness and not ever having any discernment or having any opinions or thoughts of my own. Like,
Mhm.
it can be that distracting place. So once you have that awareness, like I said, it really does create so much liberation and then fun, play, expansive, like, okay, this is the theme I'm in and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like thinking about this energy, this cycle imprint as like, how is it helping me become my best self in my regular human design chart? How is it helping me to access that transformation into my highest expression? So like for you with that cross, wanting to question everything, wanting to understand everything, but also knowing that everything is nothing and having that openness where you can see the different layers, it really helps you come into the highest expression of your natal chart's open mind, undefined mind. And for me, the opposite with my juxtaposition cross of opinions, it's helping me become more opinionated to come into the highest expression of my defined ajna, my defined mind. So it's
Mhm.
really cool to think about how this is like a person, like Saturn is like a person that comes into your life, an invisible friend that is giving you these energies that are helping you learn about yourself in new ways, helping you access different parts of yourself so that you can ultimately experience your true self from different angles, from different perspectives.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so if you're navigating your Saturn return right now, your first Saturn return, major love to you. And also, like, know that this is happening for you. And if you're wanting more clarity on the themes there, you can look at your cycles in human design because this is going to be impacting you for like 13 to 15 years ish, and depending on your exact dates. And if you're wanting to look up exactly how to do that, then you can join Besties even for a month. Take this mini course and then leave if you want to. But there's so many resources there. It's literally like worth thousands of dollars in mini courses, and it's so inexpensive. And then you also get to do a ceremony with us in the month. So that's available for you. But you don't need to do that either. You can look up your cycles on your own and you can decipher it on your own. And that's totally available for you as well. But it's so helpful to know. And it's interesting, like looking back on my life, and there was other themes obviously that came up in my Saturn return that I needed to navigate. And I think that that's because human design is never going to tell you what to like or what to follow or what career path that you need to take. It's going to tell you, okay, you have this dream. Here's how you go about doing it energetically, in energetic alignment with the least resistance, right? It might tell you these are the your gifts around this area. Here's how you can lean in, make sure you're showing up in this way, right? But when before my Saturn return, I was kind of attracted to things that weren't aligned for me, but I didn't really realize it. And going through my Saturn return, it's like, okay, my job, how I show up in work. I had a lot of karmic relationships that were leaving. Like my dad passed, so did Dana's in her Saturn return. And I had a lot of lessons around life and death and that transition happening that was definitely a part of my soul's curriculum. And that is something that's not going to be found in your human design chart necessarily. I mean, you could maybe find certain placements with like your Neptune gates or your Saturn gates and those placements, but there's some things that are just soul contracts or karmic contracts that you are here to navigate, and your Saturn return timing is just one of those returns, those placements that is like, okay, like it's time to
It's
decide, like, is this supporting you or is it not? Then it's got to go. It's time to face the music. Like, and you
right.
start getting to this place of like, who am I? What am I doing? Is this really what I want? Is this really what I need? Like, is this actually important? And for me, that was around like life and death and also work. And like, if your life is not guaranteed tomorrow, then like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing today? Actually live your life. So that's going to be different for every single person. But I'm here to then, with this conditioning theme, the cycle revealed, talk about it, which I definitely did, and
And
share it.
And it's so interesting. I think if you're listening to this and you're younger, like let's say you're in your early 20s, if you start following your strategy and authority now, you are naturally going to be creating things, choosing things, building things in your life that are more in alignment. And then when your first Saturn return comes, the Saturn return has less to correct or to slap you out of or to crumble than if you are wildly out of alignment and you've been living from a mental place of what you should do. So that's not to like scare you, it's actually to empower you that your Saturn return doesn't have to be this scary, crazy thing where, you get a divorce and you get fired from your job. It doesn't have to be that. You are always empowered to start living in alignment now. And then your Saturn return can be really beautiful. And even if intense things happen, like for Shane and I, our fathers passing away, it still feels like such a divine alignment, like it was something that happened for your rising. Yes. So the
Yes.
next important transit that creates the next cycle of your life is your Uranus opposition. So this happens when you're around age 40 to 43. And this is a time where Uranus is it's halfway in one return. So it's on the opposite side of where it was on the wheel from when you were born. That's why it's called Uranus opposition. And this is a really important moment. It's like a midlife check in because Uranus and the Uranus return, our human lives and the level of our consciousness right now really evolve and incarnate around this Uranian time. So that's approximately an 84-year cycle. So when you're halfway through that cycle at your Uranus opposition, it's like this midlife check in point. It could also be looked at as a midlife crisis if you are not living in alignment, if you are not living in your purpose. It can be a check in point that can really kind of shake things up. But this is ultimately a time where you shift into your purpose on a greater level. This is the classic time where you hear people talking about shifting from embodying their south nodes into their north node energy.
Yes. And this is when Ra Aruhu, the founder, creator of human design, channeled it, says that you become an adult. So you're literally not an adult until 43,
Which I
40 to 43.
resonate with because I am a child.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that everybody resonates with that. With the discovery of Uranus and shifting our collective consciousness and awareness to then living longer and living to like 84-ish. Um, this Uranus opposition is now, okay, welcome into adulthood. So this is the time when you are meant to be embodying your north nodes. So understanding what your north nodes are can be so helpful during this time. Um, Understanding what your south nodes are and bringing the highest expression of them into your north node energy is so helpful. And that's astrologically and also with those human design gates that you have for your south nodes and north node placements. So if you don't know what that is and you're navigating your Uranus opposition, I would recommend looking that up, researching that, learning about it in Besties, or we even teach that in Kiss Goodbye Your 9 to 5, because it's so helpful. And we also teach it in our Activate Your Golden Purpose training, where we dive into your north, everything with your purpose really, but your north nodes and your south nodes and how to really navigate into the highest expression. So that can be really helpful there. But this time of your Uranus opposition is going to be really calling you to step into your purpose with intention. And you'll be asking yourself, like, am I really doing what I'm here to be doing in this life? Like, am I showing up and living purposefully? Am I having a mark on the world and everyone in my life in a way that I meant to? And so that's where that midlife crisis can come in, the classic midlife crisis of like, who am I and what am I doing and where am I going and what is the purpose of life? So people can have like this midlife awakening during this time. But if you understand what your purpose is, then as you move through this, it can just be something that brings this almost like boost, like a little
Mhm.
booster, um, like life putting you on their shoulders at like a concert kind of vibe where you're like, oh shit, thanks for the boost. I have a better view now. Instead of like
Cute.
struggling to look at the stage.
That was a
Um,
cute metaphor. I like
Thanks. And
that.
then you
That's your
realize that like you're on stage and you're watching yourself and you're at your own concert.
I was gonna say
Um,
the Saturn return energy, the imprint there is like your friend who comes in and is like gives you the pep talk, like, girl, where are you fucking up in your life? Break up with your boyfriend. It's like that sassy friend. And then
and
you're
they're
in
the one that's like, here's the phone, call them right
yeah,
now.
do it.
And you're like,
Break up.
shit, I don't know. They dial it and it's like already ringing. You're like, fuck. That's
and
that.
then your Uranus opposition is the imprint. That's the friend that boosts you up, puts you on their shoulder and says, get a better view, girl. This is you time. Let's go.
Exactly. And you're like trying to see the stage and then they put you on your shoulders and then you're like, "Oh shit, it's me on stage. This is my concert." And
I'm the main
every like
character of my
I'm the main
play.
character and like, "Holy shit, I'm doing it." And I can see myself more clearly. Now, if you can't see yourself more clearly and you don't have a little boosty boo, then you're gonna then it's gonna be feel like you're in a crowd getting like crushed by, a stampede and it's like, fuck, I need to like get up and see what the fuck's going on here. And that's where a lot of people can operate out of not self and feel like they need to change their whole life, which maybe they do, but maybe they don't. And I think that human design and understanding your strategy and authority always, but also your cross of incarnation, also your north nodes, like I was talking about, can be the key to really giving you so much clarity and awareness and support to move forward
Mhm.
in a way that is not scary or outside of yourself. It's all internal.
And I just wanted to share a real life example. My brother is turning 40 this year. And this whole last year leading up to 40, he's been sharing with me that he feels a little bit of this like midlife crisis moment or this pressure. And he just is realizing that he's kind of made it to the halfway around the Uranian cycle. And he's been wondering, am I doing enough to share my medicine with the world? And so he's shared those thoughts with me, which is really interesting because he's coming into this Uranus opposition time. And he's also shared with me that he wonders if he needs a better house in order to find a life partner, or if he needs to get a new car, or if he need like these, on one level, he feels that this era is about him becoming more purposeful. And on another era, he wonders if he can change how he's feeling with external material purchases. Like it's literally the classic midlife crisis. I feel like I'm not on the right path, so I'm going to buy a nicer car. Or I feel like I'm not on the right path, so I'm going to get a nicer house. And it's been so fascinating to hear him go through these experiences like on his own, not really knowing about astrology or the cycles from a human design perspective. He's been feeling these things. And I think that that's really classic, right? And it's been so helpful to be able to tell him the reason that you're feeling this intense moment of a lift or a shift is because you're going through your Uranus opposition. And all you really need to do in this time is focus on truly living your purpose, living your North Node energies, and then, of course, the cycle imprint that's there. And it's been really helpful to tell him, like, your North Nodes are in the zodiac sign of Taurus. So, a huge part of his life purpose and that growth is to connect with nature, to find true wellness and wholeness in his body as a spiritual being in a human form. And so, focusing more on health, focusing more on him just being in nature and connecting with friends and eating good food and enjoying, loving being a spiritual being in a human body. that is going to be the energy that soothes him. And just sharing that with him. So I'm not even talking about the gates that are his north nodes and his south nodes yet. I'm just talking about the zodiac energy. And it has transformed his life. Like he just knows what to do with this energy. He knows what it is actually meaning on a deeper level. And then you can get even deeper, of course, by looking at your Uranus opposition, like imprint for that cycle. So getting into that for me, this is going to be in 2033 for me when my Uranus opposition moment happens, which is so crazy that that date doesn't even seem real yet. Like it's like 2033, what? But in that moment, I'll get that imprint where I have the left angle cross of the plane. And this means that in that cycle of my life, from my Uranus opposition until my Chiron return, I'll be experiencing this left angle cross of the plane energy about absolutely loving my work and being really successful on the material plane and inspiring and enticing other people to really deeply love their work as well. And to give this energy off into the world where people always have everything that they need physically to absolutely love their life, to love living on the social material plane. And I cannot tell you what a breath of fresh air this is to see this energy in my chart, in this trajectory, in this point of my life, because it really tells me that I don't need to worry about providing for myself, or will I always love my work, or will I, suddenly get sick of human design or something like that. Which sometimes those doubts and fears can pop up for me because I do have the gate of doubt, gate 63, as one of my moon gates. But just knowing that I'm here to be at that era really successful on the material plane and to inspire and encourage other people to feel successful so that they can enjoy and be in love with their life, with bonding, with connecting.
Yes. And my Uranus theme in 2034, because I'm younger than you. So funny because I'm not that much younger than you to be in a
You're like
different year,
a
but the
couple
placement,
months.
yeah, you'll be surprised at the placement of like your cycle date. Mine's going to be in July of 2034. Um, I'll be just a little bit older than 43. And this cycle or this chapter theme until my Chiron return. So, just so you know, I'm just pulling it up the difference, like you're in that chapter theme until the next return, right? When it comes to these cycles. So, your Uranus opposition is like 40 to 43-ish, depending on your exact placement. And then your Chiron return is 49 to 51. So, you might be in this chapter of your Uranus opposition for, what is that, 6 years? Or you might be in it for like 7 or 8, depending on the placement. So you can look that up and see how long you're going to be in that theme for. But this is shorter, right, than the Saturn return theme. That was like 13 to 15 years ish. And so I'm going to be in this cross of the individual with my Uranus opposition for around, for me specifically, just for, shits and giggles. I've never said that phrase before, but here we are. Um, like made me almost want to barf.
Yeah,
Why did
who
I say that?
made that phrase?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I mean, I guess kind of not disgusting. Like everybody kind of likes to poop, but is anybody giggling that they're pooping? Who
Babies,
knows? Shits.
babies.
Honestly, Isla,
Shits and giggles
1,000%
all
giggles.
day long.
She is shits and giggles. Like,
Okay,
so
she
now,
reframes it for me. It's
yeah,
cute
now I
now. It's
like
cute.
it. Now I
Reframed.
like it. Okay, so this Uranus opposition chapter that I'm in is going to be from 2034 to 2041. So almost, what is that? 8 years. And so I'm in this left angle cross of the individual or of individualism. And this is the same cross as Jared, Dana's husband. And this is going to be a theme that, or an era of my life where I'm shocking people with my intuition, with my intuitive knowing, with my individualism, and with like who I am as a person, and kind of like doing my way or the highway kind of vibe. And that is really what can be supportive for me in helping elevate the things that I'm teaching and sharing and showing up as a guide or a thought leader or a spiritual helper. I don't want to say teacher because like nobody knows anything, but like really that can be something that's supporting me, or I could go in the opposite way with my not self and be distracted of like, no, this is my way or the highway. Like I am now 43 and I know what's best, right? I could think of parents who are like that with their children. And if I didn't know this, it would just feel like this is what's right. This what feels natural. But having this understanding, then I can use this to expand me because there's a beautiful side of this. Anybody who has this cross, it's incredible. Like they're meant to be this energy. But when it's your conditioning, because it's your cycle chapter, that's where you have to be aware of, is this bringing me into not self, or is this bringing me into expansive, supportive helper? It's helping my chart. It's helping me to reach my purpose and my dreams and my goals versus holding me back.
Yeah, I love that. I was going to say the Chiron return is the wounded healer. So that's what's next, right? The Uranus opposition. So if we're looking at Saturn, it's about getting mature, building the structure for that for your adult life. Then we're looking at the Uranus opposition, coming into your purpose, sharing and growing your soul's purpose on a higher level. Then the next era when you are 49 to 51 is the Chiron return. This is then the wounded healer energy. Chiron is like a minor planet. Some people call it a comet, I think, even of the wounded healer. So after living that whole era of being more purposeful and really sharing on your soul's level of purpose, like growing into that, then you come into this era of healing, of really integrating all of the life lessons that you have, any wounds that have come up from sharing your purpose in a deeper way, any wounds that you haven't addressed from childhood or from your family of origin. Your Chiron return is really asking you to address those energies. So, during your Chiron return, this is a time where you really come into your true level of wisdom and acceptance and compassion and grace for yourself through really navigating those deeper wounds. So it's interesting that in this time, it's almost like your Uranus opposition is like boosting you up, like Shayna was saying, that metaphor of a friend in a crowd putting you on their shoulders, giving you that boost into your purpose. Then you go into your Chiron return cycle next, which is, it could seem like a bit more of like a downer or something that's a bit more hard because you're integrating and healing wounds. But ultimately, this is such an important and powerful time that truly ushers you into like your wise elder years, the time where you really get to be so much more completely integrated and whole, compassionate and accepting of yourself. So you can look up that cycle for your Chiron return and you'll be kind of experiencing those energies all the way up until the next important cycle, which is your second Saturn return. You go through it again. Once Saturn makes its second cycle, second return back to your natal placement, that happens at age 56 to 60. So you can see that these cycles, like Shayna was saying, at first they're kind of spaced out where you experience more time with each one, and then they start to get closer and closer and closer. Like Uranus opposition is, let's say, around 40, 43, then Chiron return 50, then Saturn return 56. So that second Saturn return, just the same as the first one, Saturn is that planet of discipline. It's coming back around to really check in with you and see, how are you doing? Are you on your right path? Are you providing all the structures for yourself to move forward? So it's kind of that time to shift again. But instead of it being so much about coming into maturity, since you've already done that with your Chiron return, this time it's really about wanting to leave a legacy, wanting to contribute to the world and the structures that you're putting into place to make sure that you're sharing your wisdom, that you're giving your medicine, and also that you're creating structures to support yourself in the next chapter of life, which, when you're 56 to 60, that next chapter of life is really looking at retiring and, being able to provide for yourself without working. So this Saturn return is really asking you to get clear about setting those structures in place so that the next chapter of your life can be something that is really relaxing. And then after that, next Saturn return at age 56 to 60, you go into your Uranus return. Finally, Uranus makes one return at age approximately 84. And so this transit, this cycle, the Uranus opposition, really signifies the completion of your individual cycle of your life. It's that marker, that returning home of stamping that you've made your unique mark in the world, that you've shared your unique frequency. So, this is actually like that completion energy where at age 84, I think this is so cute to think about. You kind of detach from the social world, you detach from the expectations of other people because you're like, I've done my process. I've lived as myself. I've completed my individualism. And now I can kind of let go of my ego or my place in the world trying to be seen. And I can just sort of like be free and spend the rest of the years, if you have them here in this human body, just enjoying life and being kind of more playful and learning how to detach from society and human life so that you can sort of prepare for your transition out of a human body and back into, that transition of death and returning back into everything. So it's really cute, I think, to look at the trajectory of your life and to think about yourself as an 84-year-old person if you make it that long, and seeing those themes that come up in that final cycle of completion. And then of course, if you do live to be 87, you have a third Saturn return, which kind of just echoes in that Saturn coming back, creating new structures, etc.
Yeah. And, we're going to be living longer and longer as technology and things advance. And so there's going to be more information and more returns happening the longer that you live. But it's so interesting to see after that second Saturn return, 56 to 60, your next return, like major return here that we're talking about, your Uranus return is until 84. So you have like this 25 years of your life that you're in this second Saturn return theme. And that's huge. I was talking with my mother-in-law who's already experienced her second Saturn return, but she's in this chapter and she's in this cross of explanation and explaining things over and over and over again. We were cracking up because it's definitely been a theme in her life, where she feels like she's having to repeat herself and explain things. And it can be something that is distracting, but also, once again, could be something that's really supportive once you have that awareness of it. It's not this like, why I never had to do this before. Like, why is this now a theme in my life? And literally because you're in this cycle. But for 25 years, that's a long time to be experiencing this one theme. So I almost want to say, like, it's one of the most important ones to look up and understand.
And it's just really helpful because, I mean, we're, not even into our first Uranus. We're not even into our Uranus opposition. We're just in our first cycle still, you and I, in our first Saturn return cycle. But I think it's really helpful to look at these later years of our life and to see the ways that we are continually growing and evolving. I think that that's one of my biggest goals for my life when I look at like my older years is I really have this goal to continue to evolve and grow because I see so many people who stop evolving and growing. Like literally, they just put a pin in it and they think, well, anything I didn't accomplish, I'm not going to accomplish in this lifetime. I've seen that so many times in my family members and, other people that I've observed. And if you can look at these cycles and see the growth eras that you're meant to go on and how even in your 60s, in your 70s, you still have new lessons to learn, you still have new ways to evolve. And if you take on that challenge and continue to evolve, and these cycles can help you, they can tell you how, then you'll really feel that sense of spiritual advancement and spiritual peace when you get to your Uranus oppositions. Like all of these cycles, all of these important planetary transits are like friends in our lives, like spirit guides coming in and checking in with us and helping us. They act as portals. They act as magnetism that speeds things up to help us continue to stay on track. Because on one hand, life is long and the days are long, but on the other hand, it is literally the blink of an eye. And it's easy on either end of that spectrum to kind of get checked out and to stop evolving and growing, or to think that once you've figured something out when you're 40 years old, that it's going to be that way for the rest of your life. But that's not how life works. In order for life to be healthy, it has to continue to evolve and grow. So I feel like knowing about these cycles and kind of reflecting on your entire life trajectory, even if you're really young, even if you're only 20 years old right now, reflecting on your life in totality and seeing this evolution and this trajectory that you can go on, I feel like it can be really supportive, and it can help us to continue to stay alive and to continue to contribute and grow even when, you know, we are 60 years old. Like, those are like the golden years of your life. And my parents are in this era. I mean, my parents are close to 70, my mom and my stepdad. And I think like talking about this Saturn return energy and helping them see how they want to mentor, how they want to share, how they want to create those structures to give their wisdom and to like prepare for this next era of their life, I feel like it would be really inspiring for them, because I do feel like they've kind of lost their way a little bit as far as like how they're contributing. And I feel like society values so much like youth and like looking youthful and things like that. Or even if we're talking about the feminine archetypes of like maiden, mother, crone, I feel like people have so much shadow around like the crone era or the elder era. And really, it's like these are your golden years where you've learned all of these wisdoms, and now you're here to contribute from that place. You're here to contribute from that, the authenticity that you found over your lifetime.
Yes. And with the resources available and the information available, feeling healthy in those years and getting to actually enjoy them versus survive them, I think is definitely a theme that we're going to be seeing more and more as, you know, we evolve as a human species. But it's interesting. I just looked up our second Saturn returns, and it's so fascinating to see. I have a 4-6 profile influencing me for every single cycle that I have, except for my Chiron return, where I'm that, I mean, sorry, my Uranus opposition, where I'm that cross of the individual spicy. That's when I have this 5-2 energy influencing me. But for our second Saturn return, Dana, for me, I have the right angle cross of the unexpected for those 25 years of my life, where I'm things unexpectedly happening, where I'm thrust into positions of leadership and influencing people, and kind of having this unexpected energy show up where I'm suddenly in the spotlight. And for
I
you,
love
Dana,
that cross.
I know, me too. I was like, oh, I get the unexpected for 25 years of my life. I mean, I'm going to be like 75 and like, fuck, here we go. But then again, like, I think what our president is like 79. So I'm curious what his cross is there. But
Oh.
let's not go down that road. But Dana, your your cycle cross is for your second Saturn return is the right angle cross of laws, which is the same cross as Isla. And this is all
Oh.
about um being almost like a motivational speaker to talk about what are the laws and things that need to change, so that way we can be like more supported and living a better future, and like rewriting what those supportive structures and things are. Like, I like to think of this as literally building the new paradigm. But you're not the one doing with the cross of laws here. You're not the one doing the legwork. You're talking about it. You're motivating, you're sharing that inspiration for other people in a way that's stimulating for other people to build and do. So
I
it's just really
cannot
interesting to
wait.
see, like, okay.
That is going to be so fun if we are gifted the opportunity to live to that age, which I really feel that we will, but you never know. But I literally can't wait till we're 70-year-olds and we're still have a podcast with 8,000 episodes.
Oh my God,
And it
that's
doesn't stream
crazy.
on Apple or Spotify anymore. It just streams like in a
Like straight to
frequency.
your brain.
Yeah, and you just like meditate to tune into that frequency, which kind of already happens already, by the way, because all of our listeners in this community, like I love getting your messages about dreams that you've had where we've connected on the astral plane or had conversations and then we end up like talking about something similar. Like I literally feel like we already tune into those frequencies in the air, but when we're 70 years old, like podcast world's going to be lit.
It's going to be so different. Isla's going to be actively tuning out of that frequency to not hear me talk so much. She's gonna be like, shut the fuck up. Literally,
Oh, and
I learned
I'm
recently
gonna
that
collab with her since we have the
you
same
are, you're
cross.
gonna be in the same cross. Although at that point of her life, she'll be influenced by her Saturn return, I think, or
Right.
Uranus opposition. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it
Holy
is.
shit. Um, Anyways, I hope this episode was fascinating for you and just piqued your curiosity of wanting to learn about your cycles and understand the different returns. We've had a lot of requests talking about the different returns because people hear or they, are told, oh, you're in your Saturn return right now, or you're about to go into your Uranus opposition. And it can sound like dun, 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 this huge looming thing like, oh shit, am I going to be okay? Or is everything in my life going to crumble? And absolutely not. You can hear from what you've learned today. It's meant to help mold you, and you are the architect of your life. And through your awareness and understanding of who you are and where you're going and how to make decisions in alignment with your trajectory, it can be expansive and still challenging, right? Still effort, um, still things popping up that are karmic that you're meant to navigate, but you don't feel like you're navigating it in the dark, and you have some awareness and light moving through these changes and these up levels, opportunities to up level. So, if you want to learn exactly how to look up your cycle and understand it with a slideshow and a breakdown, there's that mini course in Your Human Design Besties, which you can join on our website, daylunalife.com. We'll also link it below. And if you're really feeling called to understand all things in purpose and your purpose, but also anyone else around you, your clients, your friends, your family, all the different facets of your purpose, like your cross of incarnation and your gene keys and your godhead and the quarter that your incarnation is in. There's your north nodes. There's so many different parts, but we pair it all together. So the doors are open to join Activate Your Golden Purpose from August 8th to August 18th. And then after August 18th, the doors are closed for this group because we will then be personalizing your workbooks that are your companion guide throughout this course. And they are the equivalent of 5 advanced readings. They have so much information in there for you that's personal for you. So we need time to create that for you, and then it opens and kicks off. You can dive into all of the lessons and courses and modules on September 8th. So if you want to join us, check out the link below. Also, you can go to daylunalife.com/golden purpose to find out more information there. But we love you. We hope that you are experiencing more liberation in your cycle that you're in, or the return that you're in right now, and that this just felt like a supportive warm hug, a little boosty boo from your DayLuna sisters. And we are sending you so much love and expansion as you move through your week. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.